COVID-19 has drastically changed the cost, logistics and cultural practices conducted at funerals and cremations. Funeral parlours and insurance companies attribute the increase in prices to inflation, personal protective equipment and sanitizing products, among others. Although lockdown regulations have lowered catering prices, families have to adjust to burying their loved ones under very unfamiliar conditions. To discuss this further, we're joined by Manesh Govender. He is the president of the National Funeral Directors Association. Manesh, thanks for joining us. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you, and morning, Leanne, and all the viewers.
A lot of viewers and a lot of people have been talking to the fact that having a funeral now is completely different to how it was before. Obviously, the protocols associated with it have changed, but it's also the cost that has gone up. Let's perhaps start with the cost issue. Some saying 25% increase on funerals. What is your viewpoint on it?
I think most probably maximum 25%, but I think it's between a 10 to 15% increase overall. But as you said earlier, it's another big word that was in the news last week. PPE has contributed mainly to those increases, as well as the annual increases that come in around June, July every year as well, you know.
Yeah.
And our biggest issue was with the PPE, because when the lockdown started, we had to get our hands on a lot of PPE because we didn't know what was going to be happening. And everybody knows the marketed and minimum quantities also went up.
Yeah. If you have to give us an idea, I mean, let's get an understanding, because some people have unfortunately had to bury loved ones, others haven't. But if we have to compare a standard funeral that was held last year to a standard funeral now, what are the differences?
Difference in price-wise, or difference in
just in general?
what the extras?
I would imagine.
Okay, in general, is it if somebody passed away last year and it wasn't an infectious disease, most of our removals, we replaced the body just was wrapped in plastic, our personnel and masks. Now we've got to wear coveralls. We've got to make sure everything is sanitized. And we're using body bags now, between 2 to 3 body bags per person. So all of those are added to the cost. And then the cost factor in every funeral was maybe 8,500 rand. It's gone up to about 10,000 rand.
Yeah. So, I mean, there really is a lot of changes. I mean, when you talk about 2 to 3 body bags, and also the issue that cultural norms have changed a lot, because at certain times some people were able to take the body home and view the body and let it be there, but that's not allowed anymore. None of that is allowed.
Yes, is that the bodies go home now the day before. And also our biggest constraint as well is labor at the moment. Majority of our funerals used to take place over the weekends, and our funerals are allocated during the week. So now the extra labor force had to come in, because the labor that worked during the week then worked on the weekends. And now we're working throughout every day of the week. So our labor costs have gone up as well.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk to families about this, and obviously the new protocols that are put in place, are they understanding, or are some really finding it difficult to abide by all of these new norms?
It's difficult, for families to understand. And I think, that's why we need assistance from government, because we become, as funeral directors, the messenger. So we get all these directives, and they come across to us, and we send it across to all our members and to all our funeral directors. And we got to convey the message across majority of the time to the families, And I believe if government can put it out to the families, because there's a new directive that's coming out. It's come out today that we've got from yesterday, and this morning is that all persons who are deceased that pass away at home need to be tested. So we need to be put out to the public, because the public then comes in and upset with us as undertakers and thinking that we're putting the prices up again.
Yeah. I mean, we can see that, and obviously, I mean, I'm also reading that the manufacturing of coffins has become, a big business, and they're obviously having to manufacture a lot more than usual. Have you also seen that happening? Have we gotten to a point where, there's so much manufacturing that there's a fear of a shortage of coffins?
Yes, because we're talking to suppliers on a daily basis, where they're having issues with the accessories, they're having issues with boards, and also the other thing also is that the annual increases of all of those coffin manufacturers have gone also now between June and July every year.
Yeah. What about cremations? Because we're talking about burials. Is there anything different that we're finding with cremations?
With cremations, I think the majority of the time now, because of the services are and the burials, or with cremations, the services are taking quicker. We're having issues with certain crematoriums that are allocating certain times only for COVID-19 cases, so that's giving us a backlog. And then the issues of the certain crematoriums in certain municipalities are not working, are not operational, so we have issues that we could move from one municipality to another municipality to do cremations, and so those are the issues that we're facing.
Yeah.
And we have also issues, that certain crematoriums are charging a bit extra because now they use PPE for every case that's coming through as well.
Yeah, indeed, which is very, very understandable. I want to talk a little bit about figures that you have. I was reading that AVBOB, which is it's a very big provider here when it comes to funeral services in South Africa. They're saying that they've seen at least a 60% increase in burials. Is this indicative of the numbers you're seeing as well? I
can talk on behalf of our association as well. Those numbers are there between 50 to 60% increase.
I mean, the numbers that we're
in
getting...
the last month, but we've noticed...
Sorry, please
yes,
carry on.
sorry.
Please carry on. No, carry on.
Yeah, and the thing that we've noticed, the numbers in the last 2 weeks have slowed down quite a bit.
Have they slowed down? I mean, when we look at the death
yeah,
toll...
but we're talking about Gauteng now.
Yeah.
In Gauteng, but in Gauteng it has slowed down quite a bit.
But I see that the Eastern Cape, I mean, that's been highlighted as a very big worry. I mean, some of the places, PE, East London, Mthatha, there's a huge demand and a lot taking place there.
Yes, and I think our member, EVBOB, has stated that.
Yeah. I just want to quiz you a little bit. Not that you're no statistician general, and I know that you're not going to take on numbers, but there's been a lot of talk that our fatality rate when it comes to the coronavirus statistics that are coming out is a lot higher than it actually is. We're sitting with just over 11,000 deaths currently in South Africa. By your estimation and by what you're seeing within the funeral industry, would you imagine, and due to COVID, do you think that there are a lot more than what we're actually seeing?
It's very difficult to answer that question. As I said, we don't have the proper numbers in front of us. As I said, there has been an increase in deaths, but also some of them are not only COVID related.
Yeah.
So it's very, very difficult to put a number to that.
Yeah, it certainly is. But, seeing 60% increases in funerals that are held here in South Africa, I mean, that's got to tell you how dire the situation is. As I wrap this up, Manesh, just any advice to people that are finding themselves at this time, the expenses are just too much. I mean, it is a very expensive exercise. What do you advise to people if they have to undergo these burials?
The most important is just shop around, get a price, and if you can take funeral policies, those funeral policies assist you when in the time of need. And make sure you're taking it out with a reputable company that's underwritten. As I said, they're just going to assist you for the long term.
Yeah. Manesh, we thank you very much for talking to us. Manesh Govender is talking to us in his capacity, of course, as he's the president of the National Funerals Director Association. So thanks again, talking about funerals, cremations, burials, prices that have gone up to 25% increases in funerals. And also one thing that really jumped out at me is that a lot of these funeral homes are saying 60% increase in burials. I mean, Sakina, that's got to tell you something, how dramatic the situation is. I mean, I see it every day on my way home from work. We're here, as you know, with the SABC. We're right next to the West Park Cemetery. There's never a day that I drive past that cemetery and there isn't a queue of cars that is not one funeral, but a few funerals lining up to bury their loved ones. It's a very hard time. It really
Indeed.
is.
And I suppose that actually just brings it home, the reality of this pandemic that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And, you remember a time when we were talking about numbers in a very abstract fashion, but now we're talking about people we actually know.
Indeed. I want to end on it's not a lighter note, but it is. I told you I'd have a look at Takealot to see about this coffin story. So indeed they do. They are advertising a coffin. There's a 24% discount at the moment, by the way, Sakina. What killed me was the review. There's even a review. The review that's come out says it's comfortable. There's only one review, though.
So someone actually took a test drive. They bought it and
And they
Test
lay in
drove
it.
it.
And the other thing, though, however, just so you must note, it is non-returnable. So can't send it back.
Okay.
Pleasure.
So let us know. Maybe someone's taken up that, I don't know.
I don't know. This is a very
this
macabre
works.
conversation we're having, Sakina. My gosh, what a way to end Thursday. All right. Have a good day, everyone. And if we can put the countdown.